Robocraft early access coverage. In 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft early access coverage. This is episode 38. I'm Enigmius, and today, 4 more matches in Pretty Hate Machine. The Thunder Guppy prototype is sitting in the garage, and now we have to pay for all the chassis blocks. So we're here farming up some RP, having a little bit of fun, and hopefully learning some lessons along the way. This match is one of those ones that I had a really hard time with, in terms of not really being happy with the outcome to the extent that I had to log off for a while. I'm in a bunch of bots here that's moving fairly decisively along the north flank, heading towards the east flank and then down to the enemy base. And the one thing that stood out for me that I've been watching for a lot lately, and that's the composition of the bots on the team that I'm in. Are they kind of well built, or are they kind of really tier 1 sort of material? You know what I mean? People just learning how to build, not really thinking in terms of how to survive. They're just thinking in terms of how do I get these blocks to all fit together so that I can drive around and shoot stuff. Can't really do that at this tier. You'll pay for it. It's pretty much guaranteed that you'll pay for it, because there's such a massive difference between a well-built tier 10 bot and just this scrawny little thing that kind of rolls over the hill and eats an SMG shot and falls apart. We moved out decisively. We met the enemy basically in this little valley here, or tunnel, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's a word for it, but the rocks are covering the road so that you can drive under them. Can't blame it on bombers, can't blame it on snipers, can't blame it on SMGs from across the map. This is a case of 2 teams basically going head-to-head along this corridor here, and the winner is going to be decided based on whose bots live longest. That's the bottom line. You'll see that there's not a ton of healing going on the far side. We can't blame this on medics creating issues. What we can blame it on is our bots are just dissolving under the punishment that the enemy is dishing out. One thing, you can see the guys directly in front of me here are just sitting on the hill eating it to the face. Not the best strategy ever when you've got a large group of enemy bots sitting there shooting at you constantly, is to just sit there soaking the shots. You need, even if you're an SMG firing full bore, you need to be making some decisions about when to kind of get behind cover. Maybe give your medic, if you have one, time to top you up. Maybe give your other teammates who are in better shape an opportunity to step up and soak some hits for you. Rotate around so that the damage is evened out instead of soaking it until your bot falls apart. It's not necessarily the best decision, but you can see now the enemy is basically won. They've pushed through. Our bots are broken. There's not much we can do. You can see that plasma just flew over the top of me, which means there's a guy on my flank, and there's nothing I can do about him either. I'm basically taking it from all sides. This was over several seconds ago. We're just waiting for the game to catch up and prove it. Hey, I'll give myself credit for last bot standing, but even in my case, I was thinking about it and felt like my bot should have lasted a little bit longer if we were going to be successful in that. But again, look at the size of the bots here. They're just wee little dinky things. Some of them have electroplates on them. Some of them seem to have a lot of electroplates, but they're not very good electroplates, and they're not very well arranged. They're not really. They're more there to look neat, which electroplates can do very well. It's not necessarily the best choice to have your bot covered in lower tier electroplates just because they look cool. You won't survive. It's just a thing. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's the case. Now again, this is a case where kind of took a little while for people to figure out where they wanted to go and head out. We're strung out a little bit along the southern flank, heading to the western flank, and then up north to the enemy base. Moving through the tunnel, not a bad place to be when there's bombers and people who are going up high and shooting down on you. But notice, we haven't really encountered the enemy, and we're at the halfway point to this process. That's a very important thing to take note of when you're trying to decide strategically where we should be going and what we should be focusing our attention on. The fact that we haven't encountered the enemy, even though we've got guys up on the front there that are inside of their base, says the majority of the enemy is gone up a different flank. So either our guys off in the distance there, you can see up in the top right, are about to get creamed, or they've completely bypassed both of our expeditionary forces, if you want to call it that, and they're either going to flank us or they're going to start capping very soon. Now we've got a couple guys down in the riverbed who are leveraging a good position to irritate the piss out of me, which is, very good of them. It's not so easy for me to fire down in something like that, but at the same time, look at all my teammates who are up ahead. I don't feel like it's necessarily the best decision to rush up and join them when there's two guys down there that we could basically just ignore and allow them to flank us. So there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to decide that I can't really hit anybody down there and advance with the rest of the team. But for now, we're kind of putting a little bit of pressure on these guys, making it so they can't kind of go wherever they want to go and ignore us. We got one of them down. That guy I can't hit at all. And we've got a couple guys down there making his life difficult. So now we push up. And look at the capture. We both started capping about the same time. But now you can see by how quickly the blue bar is filling up relative to the red one that they've got more bots on our base than we have on theirs. So if we're going to win, we need to interrupt that capture immediately. There's no time to be dicking around here. There's no time to be indecisive, kind of milling around, wondering what everybody else is doing. Hey, let's chat with my pal, blah, blah, blah. If you want to win, you have to do something about this situation, and you have to do it before time is up. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of time to cross the map and do an interrupt. Even on a fast bot like a hover, it has to happen quickly. In my case, I didn't actually get there in time. We had a guy up there who basically took one for the team, managed to get an interrupt off, and now look at how close this is. Pretty damn close. Now, you see I got that shot off at the end and basically arrived at the enemy just after the match ended, so I didn't really accomplish anything. If we had been just a little bit more behind, that might have been something that made a difference. So I could have got there sooner if I had have not spent so much time on those guys in the riverbed, but I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that we didn't notice that the majority of the enemy had completely skipped all of our guys and gone to the cap. But it illustrates the importance of being decisive and making that decision and doing something instead of just sitting there letting everybody else figure out what's going on and do it. Now, this was a match that was just about the abrupt end that you have to kind of laugh at, even though it's a little bit frustrating. I'm doing what I do quite regularly on this map when we spawn on this side, is I kind of move along the north flank to watch the east flank at the very beginning. And then once we start spotting some guys, our guys start to, encounter enemies and exchange fire, I move up to see what I can do to support them. And in this case, I decided that I was going to try and shoot at the flyer there. Not the best choice as a plasma, but if I'm close enough that they see it, it puts a little bit of pressure on them to have to think about something other than just circling around shooting at our guys. So you can see we've got most of our guys up here, kind of engaging the enemy. It doesn't seem like we're doing too badly. My goal now is to try and, as usual for plasma these days, stay just far enough back that I don't draw a lot of attention and get as much fire in between my enemy bots towards the enemy as I possibly can. And then here, I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're gonna push up through the middle. We got a couple of friendly bots down there. There's another flyer. We'll pretend that we're going to do something useful by shooting in his direction. That didn't work out so well. So now we see we've got an enemy bot down there just over the hill. So we're going to come up and over the hill, and there he is. And oh crap! And there were 3 of them, and I don't reverse up hills so well. It's just a thing. One guy spotted with 2 pals sitting there in ambush. It worked out pretty well for them, and like I said, it was so abrupt. It's not too often that my bots kind of fold like that, so you can tell I basically walked face first into a superior enemy force. Now this is another match about making decisions and responding to things in a timely manner. You can see I'm kind of moving up ahead of the rest of the pack, keeping an eye on my mini-map, trying to see who's actually pushing, who's making decisions, who's hanging back, kind of letting everyone else do the thinking for them. We're a little bit strung out along the north flank, so I'm going to kind of hold back. And again, I'm not a frontline fighter, and it's not because my bot isn't suited to taking at least a few hits from time to time. We know that it's good for that. It's because Plasma just doesn't do so well on the front. So I'm going to try and keep some pressure on, help my guys out. You can see again here, they're pushing through. Haven't spotted any enemies until now. They're beyond the halfway point when they're finally spotting enemies, and they just obliterated that guy that was up there. We've got a flyer that's spotted up there. We've got another guy down on the ground. This is an indication that the majority of the enemy has gone through the other flank, and now we need to make some decisions as a team how we're going to respond to that. Are we going to all basically cycle around that flank and kind of catch them from behind maybe a little bit as they start to cap, which they just did? Or do we go to their circle and start capping? Well, it's a little bit late for that. We haven't started capping yet. They're almost done the first segment. Not necessarily ideal. Now, this is one of those cases where I decided to go join up with the rest of the team before I made any decisions about going after the enemy at the other cap, because there was reason to believe that there would be so many of them. So if I'm going to be the only person heading back that way to interrupt the cap, it's kind of this early in the process, not necessarily helpful. But now there's not really a lot of viable enemy targets for me to shoot at. We've got some slower vehicles coming down the hill that can sit on the cap and not have to worry about it. Now's the best time to take advantage of my speed and push up through and see if I can't get back to put some interrupts on the enemy, hopefully without getting sidetracked too much. Very, very easy to get sidetracked when people are shooting at you. The natural instinct is to return fire. In this case, I've already wasted a little bit of time getting back here. I don't need to be wasting any more getting sidetracked. If someone presents themselves as a target of opportunity on my way by, there's no point in letting them go. I might as well take a shot. But you can see in this case I got an SMG after me. We got the bomber. My bot's kind of taking some heavy hits. I need to get some sort of interrupt action on these guys to help make sure that they don't cap with impunity. If I can get a bit of an interrupt, which I managed to, sometimes that's all it takes to win the match, is making them lose 3/4 of a segment, half a segment, depending on how many bots they've got in place trying to do the capping relative to what's going on in their circle. You can see there was a guy in there ahead of me. He managed to get some interrupts. I managed to get some interrupts. Now we've got some other guys near their circle. We've got a guy and a healer on their circle, and we've got a lead in the capture process. Sometimes that's really all it takes, is just people pushing back to interrupt the cap. Take one for the team. You take the loss, you get the hero bonus, but it helps everyone out. It creates a sense of goodwill when you've got people going back, making smart decisions that make a difference, help other people win. So, I mean, this match is going to take a little bit longer because they're coming back to put some pressure, but realistically, it's a done deal. It's in the bag. So we're going to leave it there. If you want to be notified when I add the next episode of the series, which will probably be the build video for the Entropic Slug, the T5 super tank that we had in the short video the other day. You can always subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on the social media to get notifications that way. Social media links are in the information section below the video. Please leave your comments and feedback. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.